And we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the market side of livestock now with Mississippi State University Livestock Economist Josh Maples. He joined me on Tuesday to go over some things that are making news this week. He can offer a professional and a personal look at the current market environment because his family runs a cow-calf operation. To start off the interview, he gave some background on the operation and explained some things he's watching for during all the market instability.
So, I grew up in North Alabama on a cow-calf operation. We also have some poultry houses, we ran some poultry houses when I was a kid. Cattle operation, small by Nebraska standards, but plenty to keep us busy. My great granddad actually bought the first cattle in the 1930s, and we've been trying to make it work ever since. So my family's still there. Of course, I live in Mississippi now, so I'm not involved in the day-to-day. But it's certainly not a requirement that you came from a livestock background to be a livestock economist. But I can tell you it's definitely helped me in terms of understanding our industry better and being able to connect with producers.
And how has the COVID-19 pandemic specifically impacted how your family's day-to-day operation is working?
It really, we do mostly spring calving. So, fall, looking at sales in the fall. So we haven't seen I think we're like a lot of producers around the country where, we're kind of, the realization in terms of price impact will be later this year. So we've certainly are watching that and trying to figure out what kind of strategies we might need to consider when sales times comes around. But right now it's more just kind of paying attention and analyzing what our best bet might be moving forward. But we're collecting market information just like everybody else is.
I know that a lot of not only cow-calf operations, but other cattle producers, the prices have pushed their margins just below break-even territory for a lot of them. So what advice do you have on ways that producers can make money in this current environment?
Yeah, I wish I had a great answer for you, Troy. I mean, the unfortunate reality is that COVID-19 has or will impact every cattle producer during 2020. We've gone from a time of coming into this year, we thought 2020 was going to be a pretty good year for cattle prices. We're actually thinking that we might be on offense a little bit, and that has changed quickly to playing defense for most of the year.
Mm-hmm.
For cow-calf producers, like we talked about earlier, the impact really may not be realized until this fall, depending on each individual operation and when most of the sales happen. For the stocker and feedlot sector or feeder sector, normally we would think about the tough times, kind of closing out as we roll through this group of cattle that was bought at pre-COVID prices and into a group of cattle that was bought, after the COVID-19 impact on the market, so bought at lower prices. But of course, we're not in normal times, right? I mean, we've seen that those cattle are not getting moved as quickly, and so we're having to hold on to cattle that were purchased at higher prices prior to COVID-19 for longer than we anticipated due to the logjam of the processing sector, backing cattle up in feedlots and also backing them up out into the country.
And you're talking about selling cattle. Is that even possible to do right now? Can you get a good number to sell anything? Do you just need to wait it out? Is it too late? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that is a very individual choice or individual operation choice. And right now, the most important thing, or one of the most important things always, and it kind of exposes itself even more now, is managing the cost at the operation. So, there's significant risk right now on whether you decide to hold cattle longer to try to wait out a better price or try to sell now and accept what you know is a low price. But, selling now would be a low price, but you would be saving those additional costs that it would take to hold them longer. And depending on what your feed situation is, whether you still have some grass, depending on where you are in the country, or what your low cost feed source is, that is the big consideration. What would it cost me to hold these cattle longer to try to get a better price? And there's still just a ton of uncertainty about when that better price might happen.
Okay, let's check out some of the numbers for a minute. So slaughter numbers continuing to increase. Definitely good news. Maybe not so much for the cattle, but good news for the markets anyway. Just a huge backlog of fed cattle to work through, though. So, what do these next few weeks look like to you?
What we hope it looks like is continual recovery in processing numbers, right? So if we looked at last week, just under 500,000 head is the estimate. This would be up from that, 439,000 head. Hopefully, was the low point a couple of weeks ago. So we've seen 2 weeks of improvement. Now, I looked at the daily data or the daily estimates that came out yesterday. We were up 8,000 head yesterday compared to last Monday. So hopefully, we're on a good trend here of continuing processing numbers, and that we can ramp up and start working through that backlog of cattle that you're talking about, Troy.
And finally, today, we're taping this interview before Friday's Cattle on Feed report. So maybe for the folks watching at home, maybe as soon as the show's done, you can go check out that report online, take a look at the report. So what's the big story with the report this week? What do people need to be looking for?
Troy, this report could be all over the board. I mean, there's we're certainly looking at another report of sharply lower placements. How sharply lower is the question? There's a big range in expectations of how low placements are going to be, and there's more variability or uncertainty on the marketing number than usual too, given what's happening at the processing sector. This is not going to be a report to just ignore. This is going to be one worth watching because there's uncertainty on all the major numbers. I do think that we're going to end up with a lower cattle on feed number as compared to a year ago. So I think that this report has the potential to tell us a lot about what the flow of cattle did during April, and also kind of hopefully set the stage a little bit for knowing what the next couple of months are going to look like as well.